Ladies and gentlemen.
In this video, we're going to look at how we can use iMovie and GarageBand to create a visual podcast highlighting a piece of Glasgow's history. Now, this does require a little bit of work before you get to the iMovie GarageBand part of the video. You'll need to know what your story is, you might need to do a little bit of research for it, and you're going to have to gather some photos and videos to illustrate your story. So I've picked a little bit of the history of Hampden Football Park. I have taken some research from some websites, I've written a script, and then I've made a little storyboard just planning out what I need to do in iMovie and what I need to do in GarageBand. And I've done that using Freeform just to make it nice and simple. The rest of this video is really going to focus on how you go about combining these elements in iMovie and GarageBand to create your visual podcast. I've opened up iMovie, I've used the plus sign to start a new project, and I'm going to select movie. This lets me choose photos and videos from my camera reel. And to start off with, I'm just going to choose the first image that I'd like to use, which is this one, and then I'm going to tap create movie. Now obviously I'm going to use a lot more than one photo, but I want the photos and images that I use to match what I'm talking about in my story. So I'm going to record my script first of all over this photo, and then I'll be able to add in photos and images and sound effects at the correct point in my narration. So when I add a photo or a video, my timeline always goes to the end of that photo or video, so I'm just going to scroll backwards and I'm going to record my voiceover. I'll do that using the little microphone over at the left hand side of the screen, and when I tap that I can see my ready to record has come up. I've got the green bars moving to show me I've got a quite good volume that I'm recording at, and when I hit record it will give me a little countdown before I start recording. So I'm going to record the script that I've previously written. I'm going to be reading it off of a second iPad using my script from Pages in Present Remote. Glasgow is home to Scotland's national football stadium, Hampden Park, as well as I've just muted me recording the rest of the voiceover. I'm now going to skip all the video to the end when I hit stop recording to show what happens next. Once I've finished recording, I have to click accept. I can review it if I want to listen over it, or I can retake. I'm going to accept. Now that I've recorded the first part of the narration, I'm going to add the photos to go along with it, and I'm going to go into my photos and find what I need. So I'm going to pop in these, so I tap the photo and I hit the add sign when I see it, and then you can see it's adding in what I need. So I can play it. Hampden Park, as well as hosting cup semi-final and final matches. So because this bit talks about international men's and women's teams, I'd quite like to have this picture going over that, so I can make it a little bit longer so that it will still be playing when I see the final matches, international matches for the women's and men's teams, and athletics events in the Commonwealth. And I'm going to keep on adding some photos and videos for the length of this piece of script. Some of my videos had some background noise that I'd like to remove. What I can do is, if I tap on the video, I can click detach audio. This then separates out the noise on the video and I can bin it. So this video is now a nice muted video, and it just means that I've not got background noises going on that might interfere with my narration. It's now time to record some sound effects in GarageBand. So I'd like to record some footsteps to go with a video of me walking. So I'm going to go along to drums and I'm going to choose acoustic drums. And I can change my drum kits. Now these are the ones that come as standard, and I'm going to use the classic studio kit. And all I can do is tap to hear my different drum sounds. Okay, and I'm going to record some footstep sounds to go over my footsteps on the video. Now if you look along the top, you can see that there's a little blue triangle. That's the metronome. That keeps time, which is really useful if you're recording music, but isn't going to be that useful for me in my recording. So I'm going to switch that off. You'll see it goes white. Now you'll still hear it when I get my little count in at the start, but when I'm actually recording you won't get that rhythmic ticking. So to record, I'm going to hit the red record button and then I'm going to play some footsteps. So I've recorded my sound bits. I'm now going to tap on the piece of paper new icon in the top left hand corner. So I've got my footsteps and saved. Here is the project, but it's still currently a GarageBand project. So I'm going to rename it to Footsteps so that it's easy to find. And then I'm going to share it. I'm going to share it as a song. And I'm going to put it into a little folder I have set up in my files. You'll probably find it easier if you can set up a folder that you can save all the things you need for your project into. So I'm saving into a folder called Glasgow 850, and if I'd been really organised I would have saved all my photos in here and my videos as well. So I've saved that in there, and now I can go back into iMovie. Now I'm in iMovie, and instead of being in media, I'm going to go into audio. I'm going to look in files, and hopefully if I go to my recents, my footsteps file will be there. If it wasn't there, I could have searched through for my Glasgow 850 folder. And if I add it on, you can see it's added underneath. And now if I play, it started off just down the road. Hampden was the world's first stadium built for internet. Now my footsteps have gone on slightly longer than the walking part, so I'm going to tap on the audio file and just use the yellow slider to pop it down to where I need it to stop. And then I can test it again. Hampden was the world's first stadium built for international and club, and I'm quite happy with that. I had another walking piece slightly later on, so I'm going to do the same thing at each place where I'd like that. I'm going to go to I'm back in GarageBand, and this time I'm going to find the voice recorder, and I'm going to use that to record some different dialogue for my podcast. Now instead of using Studio, I'm going to use Fun. I'll tap OK, and here the different pictures give me different sound effects that I can use to alter my voice, so this might be a fun way to add a little bit more interest to your video. So for mine, I'm going to use the bullhorn. That gives it a bit more of a kind of muffled sound. I'd like it to sound like an old radio. So I'm going to tap that, and then I'm going to record. Scotland have just beaten England 5-1. And when I play it back, Scotland have just beaten England 5-1. I can now save that exactly as I did before. I'm going to make sure I give it a name and then share it as a song and add it to my podcast. Well, I'm back in GarageBand, but this time rather than singing tracks up at the top, I'm going to go into live loops. And here is where I can access some sound effects. If I go into Sound Library, I can download an extra sound pack, and if I scroll along, I'm looking for one called Toy Box. And if I tap on Toy Box, this is a sound effects pack, so it gives me quite a lot of different options for adding a little bit of audio colour to my project. So I'm going to tap Get, and this will download. And now it's downloaded, I'm just going to tap off of that, hit done, and now I'm going to go into new. I'm now in my live loops, so I'm going to tap the plus sign, tap loops, and I'd like to filter. I'm going to filter my sound packs, and I just want to see what's in the toy box. Look now. And this just means I'm only going to see the more kind of sound effects things. So I can have a little scroll through. I've got lots of different noises that might be appropriate. And if I just so I like this noise, the car engine start, and I'm going to use that for part of my podcast. So to use it, I simply put my finger on it and drag it to where I would like it to go. To record the sound, I will hit my record button and then I tap my car sound. And once I've hit record, tapped my car sound, then hit stop, I will go to save this project as a song. I'll name it after the sound effect, and I'll be able to add it to my iMovie project, just like my previous sounds. I'm now going to add a filter over a couple of my videos. I'm going to tap on the video I'd like to change, and down at the bottom I'm going to choose filters. And this gives me lots of different ways that I can edit this little video clip. I'm going to choose silent era for this clip and the next clip, because I'm talking about the past, so I think it'll be quite nice if they look a bit different. So when I play just down the road. Hampden was the world's first stadium built for internet, and that's how you add a filter over one of the videos in iMovie. A final thing to mention before we save our finished product is if you've used still images as part of your video, they will automatically have Ken Burns effect enabled, and you can see this at the bottom of my picture here. And what this means is it almost pans across the photo, so you're not just staring at a static still photo while you are watching it and listening. But it says pinch to position the start, so that means I can decide how I want my photo to start, and then if I tap the end, I can pinch how I would like it to end. Okay, now that I've had a scroll through, I've put some effects in, I've put some sound effects in from GarageBand, I'm happy with my finished video. It's time for me to get it out of iMovie into a format that I can share. So I'm going to tap done. First of all, I'm going to tap where it says my movie, and I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to tap the share icon, and I'm going to tap save video. This will now export this into my photos, and I will have a finished video podcast that I can share my hidden histories of Glasgow with others. Glasgow is home to Scotland's national football stadium, Hampden Park, as well as hosting cup semi-final and final matches, international matches for the women's and men's teams, and athletics events in the Commonwealth Games. Hampden has also played host to some of the world's most famous pop stars. You might not know it, but it is the world's oldest football stadium. However, it wasn't always here. It started off just down the road. Hampden was the world's first stadium built for international and club football. It was built in 1873, but today it is the site of Hampden Bowling Club, and a mural on the club wall marks this piece of history.
The year is 1882, and 10,000 spectators have just watched Scotland beat England 5-1 at Hampden Park in Glasgow.
Hampden stayed here for 11 years, but soon moved just across the road to Catherine Park when the railway line was built in 1884. Needing more room for the huge crowds, Hampden had a final move to its third site in 1903, and although it's had many upgrades and changes since then, it is still on that same site today. But its hidden history remains nearby, and now you know where to find it.